Today we are making a gluten-free version of the Starbucks blueberry scones. If you've ever had them before, they're delicious. If you haven't, today's the day. You can make them at home. They're delicious. They've got blueberry, a nice lemon zing to them, and they're perfect for meal prep, great for entertaining, and just great to have all spring long. So to make these today, if you are someone that is not concerned about a gluten-free baked good, you can use all-purpose flour, where I am using the gluten-free all-purpose flour. So just to note that, you can swap that in. We're gonna get started on the base of these scones. We're gonna start with 2 cups of that flour. Again, I'm doing the gluten-free. This is my favorite gluten-free flour right here, the all-purpose gluten-free from King Arthur. So we got 2 cups of that. So after the flour, we're gonna add in some tapioca flour. I feel like this just gives the scones, even though they are supposed to be a little bit more dense and crumbly, this just gives it a little bit of lightness that I think is really nice with the all-purpose flour. So we got half a cup of tapioca flour. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and then 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So we're just gonna whisk the dry ingredients together so that they're well combined and there's no clumps. The thing that makes a scone so darn good is all the butter. So we've got 1.5 sticks of butter, and you want it cold. Usually when you're baking, you want a room temperature butter, but not with a scone. Into our flour mixture. So now we're just gonna take our hands and gently work the butter in with the flour until they're almost like the size of peas, crumbled up in with the flour. Now I know a lot of you are gonna wonder if you can make this dairy-free. And you know, this is just one of those recipes that is really hard to get dairy-free. I'm sure we could keep working at it, but this is just a good gluten-free version of the classic. Because not only is there butter, so of course you could swap in vegan butter, but I use a little bit of Greek yogurt and buttermilk too in this one. So I don't recommend trying to make this particular recipe of mine dairy-free. However, I got lots of other dairy-free recipes on the blog. All right, this is gonna go in the freezer while we get some of the other things going. All right, the next part, we're gonna make our little lemon sugar mix. Some of this is gonna go in the scones, and then the rest is gonna go on top. So we're gonna do 1/2 cup, and then 2 tablespoons of good old-fashioned sugar. And then, I need a zester. We're gonna get about 2 teaspoons of fresh lemon zest. And this is just what makes these so good for spring, all the fresh lemon. 2 teaspoons of the zest. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your hands and you're gonna massage that lemon zest in with the sugar. This is gonna release the oils of the lemon zest in with the sugar. And then we're gonna reserve, like I said, some of this is gonna go in with the scones and some is going on top. Let's take 2 tablespoons and set that aside. We're gonna add our wet ingredients in with our sugar. So we've got 1/4 cup of buttermilk. And if you've never cooked with buttermilk before, this is just gonna give the scones that like extra tangy flavor. We've got some Greek yogurt. You could also use creme fraiche here, but I just always have Greek yogurt on hand, so that's what's taken precedent in my recipe. Do 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1 egg. Whisk that up. Now we combine our 2 dry ingredients to wet ingredients. We're gonna just kind of take our dry ingredients and make a little well in the center. And then we're gonna pour our wet ingredients right in the center there. All right, we're gonna stir until this is well combined. Now, if you've never had a scone before, it's almost like a biscuit. So you kind of do want that crumbly texture, but it's still gonna hold together nicely and still be moist, but It's definitely like a delicious blueberry infused biscuit type texture. Let's talk about the berries. We are doing a combination. We found that this is the best way to make this, of the freeze-dried blueberries and fresh. The fresh are kind of gonna burst open and they're so delicious, but the freeze-dried just really amp up the flavor. So we like to use both in this recipe. Half a cup of the freeze-dried, a little bit more. And then half a cup of our fresh blueberries. So because we have the fresh blueberries in, we're gonna mix just until it's incorporated. You don't need to overmix here. Okay, so we're just going to kind of flour your hands in a surface. A little bit more of that flour. There we go. Down our scone mixture. And now we're gonna just like shape it. This is a fun part for the kids. My girls like to do this part. It's like Play-Doh. You want your square to be big enough where you can cut 8 equal scones out of it. So now we're gonna carve right down the middle. Gonna make a little more squares out of it. And then from there, scone it up and transfer those over to a parchment paper lined baking sheet. I mean, if you wanted to make mini scones, you could go again. If you're hosting, you've got a full breakfast spread, just make it a little less obvi. But these are meant to mimic the Starbucks scones and they're ginormous. So we're going for the big scone. So now all we're gonna do is we're gonna pop these in the freezer for about 30 minutes and then we're gonna just top them with the egg wash and that sugar and they're baked. So they're super simple to make. Now you just gotta wait for them to chill. Okay, so we've got the scones out of the freezer from chilling. And we're gonna do the egg wash, sprinkle a little sugar, and pop them in the oven. So to finish these off, we're simply gonna whisk up 1 egg, brush the tops of these with the egg wash. We've got that lemon zest sugar mixture we're gonna sprinkle on top of each of these. Now obviously, depending on the season, we're doing blueberry and lemon because it's, to me, timeless, but maybe dried cranberries and white chocolate, get crazy. All right, these are going in the oven, 400 degrees, do the middle rack, just so they don't get overly browned on the top, about 20 to 22 minutes. Scones are done. I'm gonna let them cool just for a second on this, just because like you don't want them to crumble. But then you're just gonna transfer them to a wire rack, let them cool completely or serve warm. You could also do a little glaze drizzle, like some, powdered sugar, a little milk, a little lemon. All right, let's break into this beauty. Hold on. First of all, how easy was that? Second of all, these scones I feel like really mimic what Starbucks does because they're a little bit cakier than a normal scone. Normal scones a little bit drier, more crumbly, but they still have that texture to them, while also being a little bit cakier and just such a crowd pleaser. Perfect for breakfast, great for meal prep, great for entertaining. Just great. Cheers. You can find this recipe and other gluten-free baked goods on my blog, thedivinedish.com.